Welcome back to our channel Rare Coins Hub. In today's video we will deep dive into one of the most fascinating coins in American history, the 1917 USA 1-cent wheat penny. This seemingly small piece of currency holds a remarkable legacy, and in this video, we'll take you through its origins, its design, its minting history, and of course, its value today, which may surprise you. So, sit back, relax, and let's embark on this journey together. The year 1917 was a pivotal moment in American history. The country was in the midst of World War I, a global conflict that would change the landscape of the world forever. In these turbulent times, the U.S. Mint was still churning out its iconic 1-cent coins, which, at the time, were featuring the famous wheat design that would soon become a symbol of resilience for the American people. The wheat penny, a design that had been in circulation since 1909, had become a staple of daily life in the United States. But why did this particular year, 1917, stand out? Well, it's because of several factors that came together, making this penny one of the most sought-after and valuable coins in the world today. To understand this, we need to step back and explore the broader historical context in which this penny was created. In 1917, the United States was in the middle of its involvement in World War I, and the nation was under significant pressure to support the war effort. This meant that the U.S. Mint, which was responsible for producing all the country's coinage, had to work tirelessly to meet the increased demand for currency. The American public was heavily reliant on coins like the penny, which were used for everyday transactions, and the mint had to ensure that there was enough of this vital currency circulating across the nation. During this time, the mint had a talented group of designers, including a young sculptor named Victor David Brenner, who was behind the iconic wheat penny design. Brenner's design featured two stalks of wheat on either side of the coin's reverse, symbolizing the agricultural prosperity of the United States. On the obverse, Brenner also included his famous portrait of President Abraham Lincoln, which was the first time a president's image had appeared on a U.S. coin. This design would go on to become a hallmark of the penny, and it's what we recognize today as the wheat penny. The 1917 wheat penny, however, is a unique piece for a few reasons. First, it was minted in a time of great change. The United States was still feeling the effects of industrialization, and the country's economy was shifting dramatically. At the same time, the penny itself was going through its own evolution. The mint had been experimenting with different types of metal alloys and refining the production process to make sure the coins were durable and efficient to produce. But perhaps the most significant factor in the 1917 penny's uniqueness is the minting process itself. As mentioned earlier, the mint had to keep up with the demands of war, and this pressure led to certain variations in the minting of the 1917 wheat pennies. There were subtle differences in the design, as well as variations in the quality of the coin strike, that set this particular year apart from others. Now, let's dive into the details of the coin's design and minting process. The obverse of the 1917 wheat penny features a portrait of Abraham Lincoln, the 16th President of the United States. Lincoln, who was assassinated in 1865, was a figure who resonated deeply with the American people, and his image was chosen to represent the nation's unity and strength. Brenner's portrait of Lincoln was inspired by photographs of the president taken late in his life, and it said that he captured Lincoln's serious, determined expression perfectly. The design of Lincoln on the penny would remain largely unchanged for decades, solidifying his place on U.S. coinage forever. On the reverse side, the two stalks of wheat are depicted in intricate detail, flanking the coin's denomination, 1 cent, in the center. The words United States of America curve along the top edge, while E pluribus unum appears along the bottom. The reverse design was simple yet powerful, symbolizing the agricultural roots of the country and the resilience of the American people during a difficult time. The wheat penny became a symbol of strength and prosperity, as the country struggled to recover from the effects of war and economic uncertainty. As with many coins, the 1917 wheat penny was minted in large quantities. The U.S. Mint produced millions of these coins that year, with production occurring at the Philadelphia Mint, the main minting facility at the time. The exact number of 1917 wheat pennies struck varies, but it is estimated that more than 200 million of these coins were minted in 1917 alone. With such a large production run, it would seem that the 1917 penny might not be rare or valuable. But, as we will see, there are certain factors that have made the 1917 penny one of the most sought-after coins by collectors today. Over time, the wheat penny became increasingly rare as many of the coins were either lost, damaged, or melted down for their copper content. The United States' transition to using other materials for coinage, like zinc and nickel, also contributed to the decline in the number of wheat pennies in circulation. As a result, collectors began to search for these pennies, eager to add them to their collections, but not all 1917 wheat pennies are created equal. Within this year's mintage, certain variations of the coin stand out more than others, particularly the 1917 D and the 1917 S mint marks. These variations, signifying where the coin was minted, can have a significant impact on the value of the penny. The 1917 D penny, minted in Denver, is particularly sought after by collectors, as fewer of these coins were struck than their Philadelphia counterparts. Similarly, the 1917 S penny, minted in San Francisco, is another variation that commands a higher value due to its lower production numbers and scarcity in good condition. The condition of the coin is another critical factor in determining its value. Coins that have been well preserved over the years, without significant wear or damage, are much more valuable than those that have been heavily circulated. A 1917 wheat penny in uncirculated condition, especially one that has been graded by a professional grading service like the Numismatic Guarantee Corporation, NGC, or the Professional Coin Grading Service, PCGS, can fetch a significantly higher price than one that has been worn down by years of handling. It's also important to note that the 1917 penny, like many coins, has become a key piece in the world of numismatics. Collectors who specialize in rare and historical coins have long sought after the 1917 wheat penny, and its appeal has only grown with time. The rise of online auctions, coin shows, and specialty retailers has made it easier for collectors to find these coins, and as demand continues to rise, so too does the price of the 1917 penny. Now, for the moment you've all been waiting for, the value of the 1917 wheat penny today. A well-preserved 1917 penny, particularly one with a mint mark, can fetch a respectable sum on the market. However, there's one 1917 penny that truly stands out, commanding a price far beyond what most people would expect. In 2018, a 1917 D wheat penny, graded in mint state and with a near-perfect grade, was sold for a staggering $212,000 at a major auction. That's right, $212,000 for a penny. So, why did this particular coin command such an impressive price? It was a combination of factors: its rarity, its condition, and its desirability among collectors. This penny was in pristine condition, nearly untouched by the ravages of time, and its scarcity made it a true gem for numismatists. While most 1917 pennies may not be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars, it's a testament to the fascinating world of coin collecting and the incredible value that some of these seemingly ordinary coins can hold. In conclusion, the 1917 USA 1-cent wheat penny is more than just a piece of currency. It's a historical artifact, a symbol of a nation in turmoil and transformation, and a testament to the artistry of coin design. From its iconic Lincoln portrait to its intricate wheat design, this penny has captured the imagination of collectors and historians alike. And as we've seen, it continues to captivate the numismatic world with its impressive value, reminding us that sometimes, even the smallest pieces of history can hold the greatest treasures. In 1960, the United States minted one of the most fascinating and valuable pennies in its history, the 1960 USA 1-cent penny. What might seem like just another ordinary coin to the untrained eye, has proven to be a remarkable piece of American history, its appeal ever growing as collectors discover its hidden treasures. This penny holds a deep connection to the past, a snapshot of an era that was transitioning in profound ways. In this story, We'll explore the historical context of the 1960s, delve into the coin's unique design, uncover the minting process that created this one-of-a-kind item, and trace its remarkable journey through the world of collectors. And finally, we'll reveal the mind-blowing value of this small coin that can fetch up to $162,000 today. So, sit back and enjoy the journey as we uncover the history of the 1960 penny. As we take a trip back to the year 1960, we find ourselves in the midst of a rapidly changing America. The 1960s were a time of great upheaval, but also great progress. It was the dawn of the space age, with the first American astronaut, Alan Shepard, being launched into space in May. The civil rights movement was gaining momentum, and the country was on the brink of significant political change. The economic landscape was also evolving. Post-war prosperity had led to greater wealth, the rise of consumer culture, and new demands for everyday products, including money. And this, in turn, affected the way the United States produced and designed its currency. It was during this era that the U.S. Mint, the agency responsible for manufacturing coins, would make a key change in how it produced the 1-cent coin, or penny. The 1960 penny stands out as a particularly noteworthy year because of some key changes and subtle nuances that would go on to have a major impact on the coin's collector value. To understand why this coin would be so important, we need to take a closer look at its design and what made it stand out. In terms of design, the 1960 penny followed the same basic look that had been in place for decades. The obverse side, the front, featured the famous portrait of Abraham Lincoln, the 16th President of the United States, who had been featured on the penny since 1909. This iconic image, sculpted by Victor David Brenner, depicted Lincoln's face in profile with a wreath surrounding him. The reverse side, the back, showcased a pair of wheat stalks, which gave the coin its common name, the wheat penny. This reverse design had been in use since 1909, but by 1959, it was replaced with a new design featuring the Lincoln Memorial, which appeared for the first time on the 1959 penny, but in 1960, a small yet crucial change occurred. The coin was produced in two distinct types, and this was the beginning of what would become a highly collectible feature. There were two types of 1960 pennies, one with a small date and one with a large date. The small date version was produced using a smaller die, and the larger date was produced with a larger die. This subtle difference in the way the numbers were struck on the coin's face would become important later when collectors began to notice the rarity of one version over the other. Now, it's important to understand how coins like the 1960 penny were minted and distributed. The U.S. Mint was, at the time, operating multiple minting facilities across the country. Pennies were made at the Philadelphia Mint, the Denver Mint, and the San Francisco Mint. The mint used different processes to produce coins, and this allowed for a range of variations to occur in terms of mint marks and other features. For example, in 1960, the San Francisco Mint only produced proof coins, which were struck with special dies to create a smooth, high-quality finish. As for the production itself, the mint used copper to make the penny, just as they had for decades. However, by the early 1960s, the country was beginning to feel the effects of inflation, and the price of copper was on the rise. This led to discussions about possibly changing the composition of the penny in the years to come, but in 1960, the coin was still made from 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc. This would remain true for the next few decades, until changes in the 1980s led to the introduction of cheaper materials like zinc for the penny's composition. When it comes to minting figures, the year 1960 saw an impressive number of pennies produced, but the sheer volume of coins created was not what would make this penny so special. Instead, it was the two different types of pennies that were made in 1960 that caught the attention of collectors and numismatists. The large date version was much more common, whereas the small date penny became a sought-after rarity. As the years went on, it became clear that finding a 1960 penny with the small date was no easy task. So, how did the 1960 small date penny come to be so rare? To understand that, we need to know a little more about the process of coin production. The mint would sometimes use different dies to strike coins, and over time, these dies would wear out or get replaced. In the case of the 1960 penny, the small date was initially struck with smaller dies. However, it soon became clear that these dies were not producing the best quality coins, so the mint switched to larger dies to produce the larger date version. As a result, fewer small date pennies were made, and over time, these coins became increasingly rare. Now, let's take a closer look at the significance of the small date penny in the world of coin collecting. Coin collectors, or numismatists, are often very discerning about the subtle differences in coins, and the 1960 small date penny quickly became a prized possession for those who could find it. It wasn't just the rarity of the coin that made it valuable, but also the fact that it was part of a larger trend of interest in Lincoln pennies and other U.S. coins. The 1960 penny, with its dual date types, would go on to become a part of what we now know as the Lincoln Memorial series of pennies, which began in 1959 and continued until 2008. Now, fast forward to the present day, and you may be wondering, just how much is the 1960 penny worth? This is where things get really interesting. While a standard 1960 penny in average condition might only fetch a few cents, the small date version, especially one in pristine or uncirculated condition, can be worth significantly more. Depending on its condition, a 1960 small date penny can be valued anywhere from $10 to $50 for a well-worn coin. However, when it comes to rare, high-grade examples, the price can soar dramatically. And now for the grand reveal, the 1960 penny, in top condition, has been known to sell for an incredible amount. Some collectors have reported paying upwards of $162,000 for a single, uncirculated 1960 small date penny. That's right, a penny that, in its day, was worth just 1 cent could now fetch a staggering amount, making it one of the most valuable coins of its kind. This is a testament to the enduring appeal of coin collecting, and the rarity and historical significance of the 1960 penny. So, what makes this penny so special? It's a combination of factors: the historical context of the 1960s, the coin's unique design features, its minting process, and the rarity of the small date version. But above all, it's a story of how something as humble as a penny can carry immense value, both in terms of its financial worth and its cultural significance. If you happen to stumble across a 1960 penny in your spare change, take a closer look. You might just have a valuable piece of American history on your hands. Whether you're a casual coin collector or a seasoned numismatist, the story of the 1960 penny is a reminder that sometimes, the most valuable treasures are the ones that seem the most ordinary at first glance. The 1961 USA 1-cent penny may appear like a simple and unassuming coin to the casual observer, but this penny, in all its subtlety, has a rich and fascinating history that has made it a sought-after item in the world of coin collecting. The story of the 1961 penny is about more than just a piece of currency. It's a reflection of the economic climate, the cultural shifts, and the minting practices of a specific era in American history. As we explore this particular penny, we'll uncover the historical context in which it was created, the design features that make it stand out, the minting process that brought it into existence, and, ultimately, why this penny, despite its humble face value, has become a highly coveted item in the world of numismatics, with an incredible value of $158,000 today. So, sit back, relax, and let's uncover the fascinating story behind the 1961 USA 1-cent penny. To understand the importance of the 1961 penny, we need to first take a trip back in time to the year 1961. The United States was in the midst of a post-World War II economic boom, and the country was experiencing a time of prosperity and growth. It was the early days of the 1960s, an era of rapid change, as the country dealt with shifting social, political, and cultural dynamics. The civil rights movement was gaining momentum, the Cold War was heating up, and the space race between the United States and the Soviet Union was intensifying. President John F. Kennedy had just been elected, and his vision of a new frontier was setting the tone for the decade. It was also a time of significant progress in technology, with the advent of color television, the first manned space flight, and the rise of consumerism. During this period of dynamic change, the U.S. Mint was still focused on maintaining a sense of tradition with its coinage, while also responding to the evolving economic climate. The penny, a symbol of daily life and small change, had been in circulation for over half a century, and it had undergone a few design changes during that time. In fact, since 1909, the penny had featured the image of Abraham Lincoln, the 16th President of the United States, on the obverse side, designed by Victor David Brenner. This iconic image would continue to be used on the penny in 1961. But while the portrait of Lincoln remained the same, there were subtle differences in the design and production of the penny during this time, which would play a major role in the coin's later appeal. In 1961, the penny retained its familiar design, which featured the profile of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse side, surrounded by the inscription Liberty and the year 1961. On the reverse side of the penny, we see the words E pluribus unum and the phrase United States of America in a circular pattern, surrounding two stalks of wheat. This wheat penny design had been in place since 1909 and was a hallmark of American coinage for over 50 years. The design was meant to symbolize the country's agricultural roots, with the wheat stalks representing America's vast farmland. However, in 1959, the wheat design was replaced by the Lincoln Memorial, a symbol of the nation's respect for Lincoln's legacy, but in 1961, the wheat stalks remained on the reverse of the penny. This particular penny, produced in 1961, was created using a specific composition of metals that had been in use for several decades. The penny's composition in 1961 consisted of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc. This mixture gave the penny its characteristic reddish-brown color, which would later tarnish into a duller, darker tone over time. This copper composition made the penny more expensive to produce than it was worth, a problem that would eventually lead to the penny's composition being changed in later years, as inflation made copper more expensive. But for now, in 1961, copper remained the primary metal used in the production of the penny. The minting process used to create the 1961 penny involved several steps. First, the U.S. Mint's engravers would carve the designs into metal dies, which would then be used to strike the coins. These dies were used to stamp a blank copper planchet, turning it into a penny. The minting process at this time was done using large-scale machinery at the various U.S. Mint facilities, including the Philadelphia Mint, which was responsible for producing the bulk of the nation's coins. The mint marks on the pennies were placed at the base of the reverse side, either D for Denver or S for San Francisco, depending on where the coin was produced. However, 1961 was one of the years where the majority of pennies were minted in Philadelphia, so you will mostly find pennies without a mint mark from that year. While the 1961 penny may seem like just another in a long line of annual coin releases, it was part of a larger trend in U.S. coinage. The penny was becoming a symbol of both national pride and the economic realities of the time. As the cost of living began to rise, and inflation started to take hold, the penny was increasingly seen as a coin of less and less purchasing power. And yet, in the world of coin collecting, certain pennies began to stand out as incredibly valuable. What makes the 1961 penny so special in the eyes of collectors is the rarity of certain variations that occurred during its minting process. While most of the 1961 pennies are relatively easy to come by in circulation today, there are certain variations that have become highly sought after by numismatists. The most valuable of these are the proof coins produced in 1961. Proof coins are specially struck coins that are made with higher quality dies and are intended for collectors rather than for general circulation. These proof pennies have a mirror-like finish, and they are much more pristine than the typical coins that were sent into circulation. Proof coins from 1961 are especially prized by collectors because of their high quality and limited availability beyond the proof coins. However, the 1961 penny is also known for some subtle design differences that make it unique. For example, while most 1961 pennies have a well-defined and clear strike, some of the coins from that year show slight imperfections or variations that have been noted by collectors. These small differences in the way the coins were struck or the metal was used can make a big difference in the value of the penny. Now, let's take a moment to consider just how much a 1961 penny could be worth today. While most 1961 pennies found in circulation are worth only a few cents, likely close to their face value, there are exceptions. If you happen to come across a well-preserved 1961 proof penny, you might find that it's worth significantly more. A high-quality proof coin from 1961 could fetch anywhere from $5 to $10 depending on its condition. But the real treasure lies in the most well-preserved, rarest examples of this penny, and now, the big reveal, the most incredible example of a 1961 penny has been known to sell for a jaw-dropping $158,000. That's right, a penny that was originally worth just 1 cent could now be worth over $158,000. This immense value is due to the rarity and pristine condition of the coin, as well as the ever-growing demand among collectors for high-quality, historically significant pieces. What makes the 1961 penny worth so much? It's a combination of factors: its limited availability, the quality of the minting process, the historical context in which it was produced, and the desire among collectors to own a piece of American numismatic history. In the world of coin collecting, even the most modest coin can become a valuable artifact, and it carries historical significance and rarity. If you happen to find a 1961 penny, it's always worth taking a closer look. You might just have a rare and valuable coin on your hands. Whether you're a seasoned coin collector or a casual observer, the 1961 penny serves as a reminder of how something as small and seemingly insignificant as a single cent can carry great value, both monetarily and historically. The 1961 penny is a perfect example of how the smallest pieces of our past can hold the greatest treasures. The 1973 USA 1-cent penny may appear, at first glance, to be just another run-of-the-mill coin. However, to collectors and numismatists, this seemingly ordinary penny carries with it a rich history, a fascinating backstory, and, in some cases, a staggering value. As we delve into the story of the 1973 penny, we'll take a journey back through time, exploring the political, economic, and social context of the early 1970s. We'll also take a detailed look at the coin's design, production, and the unique features that have made this penny a treasure for collectors. And of course, we'll save the best for last, as we reveal the incredible value of a 1973 penny, one that could fetch as much as $145,000 today. The year 1973 was a pivotal one for the United States. It was a year of political tension, economic struggles, and global uncertainty, but it was also a time of change and progress. The U.S. was still reeling from the tumultuous events of the 1960s, including the Civil Rights Movement, the Vietnam War, and the assassinations of prominent figures such as John F. Kennedy and Martin Luther King Jr. The early 1970s were marked by continued political unrest, particularly with the Watergate scandal that would eventually lead to President Richard Nixon's resignation in 1974. Meanwhile, the economy was grappling with inflation and the effects of the 1973 oil crisis, which sent gas prices soaring and triggered a global recession. While the nation was in the midst of significant political and economic shifts, the U.S. Mint was busy working to produce coins for circulation, including the 1973 penny. The design of the penny itself remained largely unchanged from previous years, but subtle differences in the coin's production and minting process set the 1973 penny apart from its predecessors. Understanding the design and minting details of the 1973 penny is essential to appreciating its significance in the world of coin collecting. In 1973, the penny continued to feature the iconic portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse side of the coin. This design, created by Victor David Brenner, had been in use since 1909 and had become a symbol of American history and values. Lincoln's profile was surrounded by the inscriptions "Liberty" and the year 1973. The reverse of the penny, however, underwent a significant change just a few years earlier. In 1959, the wheat stalks that had graced the reverse of the penny since 1909 were replaced with a new design featuring the Lincoln Memorial, the national monument dedicated to the memory of the 16th president. This new reverse design, created by Frank Gasparo, was meant to symbolize Lincoln's legacy and the values of unity and equality that he stood for. The 1973 penny was minted from the same composition of materials that had been used for decades. At the time, the penny was made of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, giving it its familiar reddish-brown color. However, as inflation continued to rise in the 1970s, the cost of producing the penny became increasingly expensive. Copper, which made up the majority of the coin's composition, was becoming more costly, and the U.S. Mint began to explore alternative materials for future penny production. But in 1973, copper was still the primary metal used in the penny, and the coins continued to be struck with the traditional copper composition. The minting process for the 1973 penny was similar to that of previous years. The U.S. Mint used dies to stamp the design onto blank copper planchets, and these planchets were fed into large machines that struck them with great force, creating the coins that would be sent into circulation. The coins were produced at the Mint's various facilities, including the Philadelphia Mint and the Denver Mint, which were the primary locations for penny production. Some 1973 pennies also bore the S Mint mark, indicating that they were produced at the San Francisco Mint, though these were primarily proof coins intended for collectors rather than general circulation. While the 1973 penny might seem like just another year of regular production, there were several factors that made this coin stand out in the world of coin collecting. To begin with, there were some subtle variations in the production of the penny that would later catch the attention of numismatists. For example, small differences in the way the dies were prepared, as well as minor changes in the quality of the strike, created variations that made certain 1973 pennies more desirable than others. The most notable feature of the 1973 penny that has attracted collectors is the presence of a particular variety known as the 1973 double die penny. This rare error occurred when the coin's design was mistakenly struck twice, creating a visible doubling effect on certain parts of the coin, most notably on the date and the lettering. This error was likely the result of a misalignment in the die or the pressure used during the minting process. These double die pennies are incredibly rare, and finding one in good condition can be a thrilling discovery for collectors. While the standard 1973 penny might be worth only a few cents in circulation, a 1973 double die penny can fetch hundreds, if not thousands, of dollars, depending on its condition and rarity. To add to the intrigue of the 1973 penny, it's also important to understand the role that coin collectors, or numismatists, play in determining the value of a coin. Collectors are often keenly aware of subtle differences in minting, die variations, and overall condition, which can dramatically impact the price of a particular coin. The 1973 penny, especially in its rarer forms, has attracted the attention of collectors who are always on the lookout for unique pieces to add to their collections. This demand for rare coins, coupled with the limited supply of certain varieties, has led to significant increases in the value of specific 1973 pennies. So, let's talk about the value of the 1973 penny. As mentioned earlier, most 1973 pennies in circulation today are worth only their face value of 1 cent. However, when it comes to rare error varieties, such as the 1973 double die penny, the value can skyrocket. In fact, certain high-grade examples of the 1973 double die penny have been known to sell for as much as $145,000. This jaw-dropping value is a testament to the rarity and collector demand for this particular penny. The value of the 1973 double die penny is influenced by a variety of factors, including its rarity, the quality of the coin, and its condition. Coins that are in pristine, uncirculated condition are always worth more than coins that have been heavily worn or damaged over time. A high-grade 1973 double die penny can fetch a price in the tens of thousands of dollars, and in some cases, the most exceptional examples can command even higher prices at auction. The appeal of owning a rare and valuable coin like the 1973 double-die penny lies not only in its financial worth but also in the historical significance of the coin. For collectors, owning a piece of American numismatic history is a rewarding and valuable experience. In addition to the 1973 double-die penny, other 1973 pennies, such as those in proof condition, can also fetch higher prices, although they are typically not as valuable as the error varieties. Proof coins, which are specially struck for collectors, often have a higher quality finish and are produced in limited numbers, making them more desirable among collectors. A 1973 proof penny can be worth anywhere from $10 to $50, depending on its condition and whether it is part of a complete proof set. As we reach the end of this journey through the world of the 1973 penny, we're left with a deeper appreciation for how something as small and seemingly insignificant as a 1-cent coin can have such a significant impact on the world of coin collecting. Whether it's the 1973 double-die penny, a high-grade proof coin, or simply a rare variety, the 1973 penny has proven to be a valuable and treasured item for collectors. Its history, its design, and its rarity make it a prime example of how numismatics can turn the most ordinary objects into extraordinary treasures. So, the next time you come across a 1973 penny, take a moment to examine it carefully. You might just be holding on to a rare and valuable piece of American history, one that could be worth far more than its original face value. Whether you're an experienced collector or a newcomer to the world of coin collecting, the 1973 penny is a reminder that sometimes, the most valuable treasures are the ones that seem the most ordinary at first glance.